All right, so chapter 3 is going to be talking about statements and logical connectives. So, the one thing I do want to mention about chapter 3 is that this is a very different section than some of the stuff we've done before. There are a lot of similarities between this and what we did in chapter 2 on sets, but just like when we did chapter 2 on sets, a lot of us had not seen, what does the intersection mean? What does the complement of a set mean? What does the union of two sets mean? A lot of us have not seen statements and logical connectives either. So I just want to sort of preface this with, if it seems a little tough at first, it's understandable. It's going to get easier as we go through it, okay? So we have a couple of definitions here. And the first thing says is a statement is a sentence that can be judged either as true or false, okay? Labeling a statement true or false is called assigning a truth value to the statement. So again, the one thing I want to mention, a statement is a sentence that can be true or false, right? So if you were to say Donald Trump is a better president than Barack Obama, that is not a statement, right? Because you cannot judge that as either true or false. You have to have something that is concrete. If you were to say something like Barack Obama was the 44th president, Donald Trump was is the 45th president, those are statements because you can judge them as either true or false, right? It's not a matter of opinion. Okay. So let's see. Simple statements is a statement that only conveys only one idea, can be assigned a truth value. Compound statements are sentences that combine two or more simple statements and can be assigned a truth value. Okay, and the next part here says a negation. So a negation of the statement changes the statement to its opposite meaning. Okay, the negation of a false statement is always true, and the negation of a true statement is always false. And then, guys, we have something called quantifiers. So quantifiers are words such as all, or none, or no, or some of them. And then it says, be careful when negating statements that contain quantifiers. So forms of a statement. Okay, so here we go. The statement is some are not. The negation would be all of them are. Some of them are. The negation would be none of them are. None of them are, with the negation would be some are. And all of them are, the negation would be some are not. Okay? And we have the same thing here, kind of in a little box, but it's the same sort of format, okay? So I'm going to sort of use this box here, to answer my questions. So it's asking me to write the negation of the statement. It says some books are novel. So I'm looking at some of them are. So the negation would be no books are novels. Okay? Because the negation of some of them are going to be none of them are. So I wouldn't say none books, but I would say no books are novels, right? Okay. All coins have the image of George Washington. So if I look up here, all of them, the negation of all would be some of them don't, right? So then I would say some coins don't have the image of George Washington, okay? Now, guys, one thing I want to point out, when you're doing your homework in these are going to be multiple choice questions, okay? So you're not actually going to have to type anything in. You're just going to have to look for the negation. Again, the easiest way to look for the negation, let me erase some of this mess here. Oops, that's not my eraser. Here we go. Okay, so the easiest way to use or to find the negation, in my opinion, is to use that little box, okay? That's going to help you figure out what the negation will be, okay? So when you're doing your homework, reference that box, and it should be more straightforward, all right? Okay, so it says statements consisting of two or more simple statements are what we call compound statements. And the connectives, we're going to be talking about this throughout chapter 3, guys, are and, or, if, and then, and if and only if. And we'll explain what those mean, okay? So, not statements or the negation. The symbol used in logic to show the negation of a statement is, and it has this little symbol. The way we read that is not, okay? So it says the negation of P, the way I read this thing here, guys, is not P. Okay, that little squiggly just means the word not. The little up arrow is a symbol for conjunction. And that's what we read as and. Guys, if you remember back from chapter 2, now chapter 2 was what we did at the beginning of the semester. If you remember when we had something like this, that was what we called the intersection. And what we were looking for was what were the elements that were both common to A and B, right? So I want you to look here. Instead of a little upside down U, it's a up arrow. That up arrow means and, okay? So it says here, the conjunction of P and Q is, the way I read this part right here, guys, is P and Q, okay? Other words that can be used as a conjunction are but, however, and nevertheless. So sometimes we'll read it as those. I'll show you when we do. Okay, so it says, write the following conjunction in symbolic form. Kanye West is not on tour, but Kanye West is recording a new CD. All right, so I want us to take a look. What they want me to do is they want me to use these two statements. And if I'm going to write the conjunction, it means I'm going to use a little up arrow. So the statement T is Kanye West is on tour. But look at what we have here. We're saying Kanye West is not on tour. So what I would say is that's going to be not T. Because if T is the statement that he is, and we're right here saying that he is not, that would be not T, okay? But is the same thing as and, so that's going to be my little up arrow. Kanye West is recording a new CD. Well, that's just my statement R, and this is going to be my answer, okay? All right. Now we have disjunction. So disjunction is symbolized by the letter V, or it's like a down arrow. Guys, if you remember back when we were in chapter 2, and we had this, which was the union, that means we were looking for the elements that were in A or B, okay? Again, I'm going to do the same kind of thing here. I'm going to set up my, I'm going to write down my answer in what we call symbolic form, okay? So again, the way I read this here, the disjunction of P and Q, the way this is read is P or Q. That little down arrow just means the word or. Okay, so let's take a look at the problem that we have here. It says, Camila will take chemistry, Camila will take French. It's asking me to write this in symbolic form. Camila will take chemistry, or Camila will take French. So Camila will take chemistry is the statement P. The or is the down arrow. Camila will take French. Well, that's just the statement Q. And that's all I got to write here. Okay. Now, the next one here says Camila will not take chemistry, or Camila will not take French. So then I'm going to say, well, then not P or not Q. Remember, the little squiggly right here is just the same thing as the word not, okay? All right. So the next part I have here, guys, out of 3.1, talks about these things called compound statements, okay? Compound statements are going to have more than one connective. That means they're going to have an and an or maybe two ands or two ors, something like that. All right. It says right here that a comma can be used to indicate which statements are grouped together. When we write the compound statement symbolically, the simple statements on the same side of the comma are to be grouped together within parentheses. Okay. let's go through this problem here and see if we can't figure it out. All right, P is a statement, dinner includes soup. Q is a statement, dinner includes salad. R is a statement, dinner includes the vegetable of the day. It's asking me to write the statement in symbolic form. It says dinner includes soup, comma, and salad or vegetable of the day. So here's my comma. So the first thing it tells me is that if I have two statements on the other side of the comma, those are going to be grouped, in parentheses. Okay, so let's see if we can figure this first part out. Dinner includes soup. Well, that's just the statement P. And is going to be my up arrow. Now look what we have here. We have parentheses. Salad or vegetable of the day. Well, salad is the Q, or is going to be the down arrow. Vegetable of the day will be the letter R. Okay. And there we go. Now again, I put the Q or V in parentheses because they were on this side of the comma, right? So I know I put my little, there you go. You can see the comma right here. And since there's two things to the right of it, those two things get grouped together, okay? So look, let's do part B. I'm going to go about it exactly the same way. Dinner includes soup and salad. Look, here's my comma. So this part is going to go in parentheses because I have a connective right there. And then this piece will be on its own. So dinner includes soup and salad. That's going to be parentheses, parentheses, P and Q, comma, or is my down arrow, vegetable today would be R, okay? Now, before I go on to anything else, I want to make sure that we understand what's the difference in what we just wrote out, okay? So if I look at this piece here and I ask myself, what does that mean? It says dinner includes soup and salad or vegetable of the day. So think about what that means. It means that you're going to get soup and then you're going to have a choice of getting a salad or a vegetable, okay? Now, this statement here says dinner includes soup and salad or vegetable of the day. So what does that mean you're going to get? You can either choose a soup and a salad together, or you're going to get a vegetable, but you're not going to get both, right? So that's what the difference between those two statements are, okay? So I know it seems a little silly, like, wow, are we really dissecting the sentences that much? But we are, right? Guys, the logic part of it, sometimes people say, is that really math? It is a form of math. But the logic part of it just kind of shows how important language is. Where this is extremely useful is in legal matters, right? In legal matters, this kind of wording is one of the most important things, okay? So if you're thinking about a degree in law, logic is definitely going to be a big part of it. All right, so let's go through the next part here. It says, P is the house is for sale. Q is we can afford to buy the house. Now it's asking me, write the symbolic statement in words. So guys, again, one thing I want to mention about these homework problems, they're going to be multiple choice. So you're not actually going to have to type anything out or write anything down. You're just going to have to ask yourself, which is the right answer? I'm writing them out so that you can see what's going on. But again, you'll just be doing a multiple choice type problem. Okay, so look what the first thing we have, P. P is the house is for sale. Okay, this little symbol means and, so I'm going to put it right here. And then we have a not Q. Well, if Q is the statement, we can afford to buy the house, I'm going to say we can't afford to buy the house. So guys, one thing I want to mention, instead of the word and, they might use the word but or however, okay? They all mean the same thing. All right, let me go through the next one. Look what we have here, not P. So if P is the house is for sale, I'm going to say the house is not for sale. Okay, that little down arrow means or, not Q. Q is we can afford to buy the house. Again, we can't afford the house, right? Or to buy the house. All right. Now, there is a third problem here. This piece right here, okay? So I want you to notice we have parentheses. And I want you to think back from like the very first week that we were doing problems in our class. And we did something like order of operations. And remember, the order of operations says we're going to do everything in parentheses first. So forget about that negative. Just look at the inside of the parentheses, P and Q. Okay? So P and Q is going to say the house is for sale. That's the and we can afford it. Right? Now, we do have that not there, okay? So when we have that negation, usually what we do is we'll say something like, it is not the case that, and then the house is for sale and we can afford it. Or it is not true that the house is for sale and we can afford it. So notice I had given myself this little bit of space here so that I can fill that in, all right? All right. So I'm going to keep kind of coming along here to the next piece. Give me one quick second. All right, so if-then statements, the conditional is symbolized by, and we have this little arrow that points to the right. The way I read this arrow is just if-then, okay? Something we call the antecedent is the part of the statement that comes before the arrow, and the consequent is the part that comes after the arrow. So the way I read this piece here, I read that as if P, then Q, okay? So again, we're going to go through the same thing that we did before, okay? So here are my two statements. P is the portrait is a pastel. Q is a statement, the portrait, is by Beth Anderson. So look what it says, if then, okay, if then. So the first statement, the portrait is a pastel, well, that's my statement P. And since it's an if then, I'm going to do this. The portrait is by Beth Anderson, there's my Q. That's all I'm really writing out here, okay? Now, there is a second part. Again, this is still an if then, so I'm going to put my arrow. The portrait is by Beth Anderson. That's actually my statement Q. The second part says the portrait is not a pastel. Well, if it's not a pastel, then that would be not P, right? Okay. Look what this question says, or look at this problem. It says, it is false. You know what? Actually, let me circle the whole piece. What I mean by the whole piece is this part right here. It is false that if the portrait is by Beth Anderson, then the portrait is a pastel. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do here, portrait is by Beth Anderson. That is Q. This is an if then, so it's going to be an arrow. The portrait is pastel, that's P. Since I have that it is false in front, I'm going to put this business here in parentheses, and we're going to negate it. That is the it is false, right? And that's kind of like what we did in this problem right here, where we said it is not the case. I could have said it is false, right? That the house is for sale. It's that same sort of concept, okay? So I want you to understand that if I say it is not the case, or if I say it is false, we're really saying the same thing, right? Okay. Now we have if and only if statements. It says the biconditional is symbolized by, and we have a double arrow, and the way we read that is if and only if. And so we have it right here, guys. When we see the P with a double arrow and the Q, that is read P if and only if Q. Okay? So P is the statement, Alex plays goalie on the lacrosse team. Q is the statement, the Huskies win the Champions Cup. So now we're going to write this in words. P if and only if Q. So we're going to say Alex plays goalie on the lacrosse team if and only if, because that's what the double arrow means, the Huskies win the Champions Cup. Again, when you're doing your homework, guys, these problems, I want to mention it again, are going to be multiple choice. So you'll just be able to choose from the answer that's there. Okay. All right. So let's try another one, similar. Let's see. We're going to write it in words. Q, if and only if, not P. So look what Q says. Huskies win the Champions Cup. So we're going to say Huskies win the Champions Cup. And then we have the double arrow, so I'm going to say if and only if it's a not P. So not P is going to say if Alex plays goalie, Alex does not, play goalie on the lacrosse team, right? And so let's go through the next one. Again, I'm going to try to do the same thing here. So remember, I'm going to do what's on the inside of the parentheses first. P. I'm going to give myself some space because you know we got that other piece in front. Alex plays goalie. Okay. If and only if. If it's not Q, it says the Huskies win the Champions Cup. So I'm going to say Huskies don't win. Champions Cup, right? And then because we have that negation in the front, I'm going to say it is false that Alex plays goalie if and only if Huskies win the Champions Cup, right? All right, so let's see what we have here, guys. This kind of sort of puts everything together in terms of the symbols and how do I write them out, okay? And so we're going to go through some more of this as we go through chapter 3. We only got 3 sections in chapter 3, guys, so we just did the first one. I think that was all of 3.1. No, my bad. We got a little bit more, and then we'll do 3.2 and 3.3, okay? All right. So let's see if we can figure this thing out here. It says, write the following statement in words. P is the water is 70. Q is the sun is shining. R is we go swimming. Okay, so let's see if we can write this out. Notice these two are written in parentheses, so I know I'm going to put a comma after that. So I'm going to say the water is 70. That little symbol right there is my or the sun is shining. Oops. Comma. Then this is my and not are. We do not go swimming, okay? Because it's a negation. All right. So again, I'm going to do the same thing for the next one. Notice these are in parentheses, so that's going to be my comma. P is the water is 70. My little up arrow is and Q, the sun is shining. And then I have my comma. My down arrow is my or, R. We go swimming, right? All right. And let's see. We got another one here. Q, what was Q? Okay, Q is the sun is shining. Let me see if I can just move up a tad so I can see all of them. There we go. All right, so again, these are in parentheses, so that's going to be my comma. Q, sun is shining. Okay, and R, we go swimming. Comma. Then I'm going to put the then because that is an arrow, so I have to put in front of it if the sun is shining and we go swimming, then P, the water is 70 degrees. And we got it done, right? All right, let's see. Okay, so now we're going to just go backwards, guys. It's given me the statements. We're going to write them in symbolic form. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do in these problems, I'm going to look for my comma. So here's my comma. So that means that that piece is going to go in parentheses. Look at the first part. The temperature is 90 degrees. I'm going to put parentheses, P. Then it has and, so I'm going to put my up arrow. The air conditioner is not working. Well, if Q is the air conditioner is working, that would be A, not Q. Close my parentheses. And, that's my up arrow again. The apartment is hot, which is my R. Okay. Same thing for the next one. I'm going to look for my comma, I'm sorry. It's right here. So those are my parentheses. The temperature is 90 degrees. That is my P. And the air conditioner is working. That is my Q. Or, that's my down arrow, the apartment is hot. That is R. Okay. Let's see. Then for my third one over here, it says if, then, okay, if the apartment is hot and air conditioner working. Here is my parentheses. So I'm going to put parentheses. The apartment is hot and the air conditioner is working. The apartment is hot is R, and up arrow, the air conditioner is working. That is Q. Since this is an if then, there's going to be my arrow. The temperature is 90 degrees. That is P. That doesn't look like a very good P, does it? Let's fix that. P. There you go. Okay, and let's see. The apartment is hot if and only if the air conditioner is working, comma, and the temperature is 90 degrees. Okay, so here's my comma. So this is going to go in parentheses. The apartment is hot. The apartment is hot. I want to say that was our R. Okay, if and only if, that's my double arrow. The air conditioner is working. That is my Q. Close it off. And there's my up arrow. The temperature is 90 degrees. That should be our P. Okay. All right, so that right there, guys, was 3.1.